Alright guys, so here we have the Zino Pro Plus, and I'm going to show you, I've got everything broken down for you, and I'm going to compare the board and all the parts of the Zino Pro Plus to the exact same parts on the Zino Pro, and we're going to find out exactly what we have different here and some odd things that I found. So the first thing, let's just go ahead and get into the quad itself. Now you have the power supply board right here, and that has changed so that this is a different part number than the power supply board that you are used to with the Zino Pro. Now one other thing you'll notice is the cable here is different. They've gone with a different style cable where you have this black one here, and it seems to be pretty much the same, just a different color. It's not like it's any thicker or anything, but there is a different part number. This part number, the ending number is 114-02, and then this part number is 166-01, and you cannot switch these parts out. I've already tried. Just the cable alone, if you put it in the Zino Pro Plus, when you go to start it, it won't do all the musical chime. It'll start just like 3 beeps and stop. So this board here, your power supply board, this is different from the Zino Pro to the Zino Pro Plus. No big wow factor or anything like that, just it is a different part. So that is different. Our wiring, all that's the same. Your power button board, exact same as it's been since the original Zino. This has not changed. This part number is the same. So if you ever need this power button board, you can get it from the Zino, Zino Pro, Zino Pro Plus, all the same. Cable hasn't changed either. Here's what I find real interesting. Right now I've got my wires tucked away if you're wondering where they are. But I call this the Wi-Fi. This is a lease transmission system, but I call this a Wi-Fi repeater. And I've already unplugged my fan so I can slide this out. I'm going to keep the antennas. Well, let's go ahead and unplug the antennas here. Got all this goop I got to be careful with. That glue is so strong. Get the glue off of there. This one seems loose. Okay. So here is your Wi-Fi repeater. I'm sorry about the focus. I can't turn my focus on because as I move around here, it's going to go in and out of focus. But what they've gone and done here is, you see this cover? They've added this bracket, and this bracket goes up against the frame here, and it looks like it's all scratched up, right? That's not the case. What they've done is they've gone and added let me grab a screwdriver. They've gone and added a thermal conductive grease, just like you would use on a CPU. They've added that on there, and then it transfers and touches up against the back of your main board when the main board sits on top of it. Now, I do not know why they've added this bracket. This Wi-Fi repeater, it slides into a track. Once it's in that track, it's locked. It cannot go anywhere. So my first impression, my first thoughts on this was maybe it was because there might have been a problem with them sliding forward, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think this is any type of a grounding type issue. You would do that through a wire. So I really don't know what this bracket is all about, but that's very strange to me. And I have worked on somebody else's Zino Pro Plus. Their bracket wasn't bent and pushed away. And you see I have this gap right here. And then you'll see, you can see those contact points there. Those are little areas where you can test with your meter. And this is a 5-volt system. So on his bracket was bent all the way back and pressed up against those. So it closed up the gap and was touching the board. And he had a dead short in his system. So the way I figured that out was when I plugged in his battery, his LED lights would just flicker. Just hooking the battery up with it turned off, the lights would just sit there and flicker. And it turned out his was shorted out up against the board. So that's one thing that you might want to watch out for if you ever have that issue. The quad would power on and everything, but it was shorting out and causing these lights to flicker. So that's something they've gone and added. And to be honest with you, I'm going to remove mine. I don't see any benefit in this whatsoever. So I will be removing mine because, like I said, when you put this down in there, it goes into a track and it is locked in there tight. It cannot go anywhere. So that's one thing they've added and changed. But here's the interesting thing. This is the Pro Plus. It's supposed to have longer range and everything. Your Wi-Fi repeater board, here's the part number. If you take the Wi-Fi repeater board from the Zino Pro, these are exact. The part numbers match 100%. There is nothing different looking about the boards at all, except for this bracket. So exact same Wi-Fi repeater boards between the Zino Pro and the Zino Pro Plus, except for they've added this bracket with that thermal conductive grease like you see on like a computer CPU. And then that slides down in there and locks into place. Another thing they've gone and added is all of this thermal tape, that gold tape you see down in there. They added that and it goes all the way down to the bottom. Now the only reason I can see them doing that is maybe to stop some sort of interference between the Wi-Fi repeater and the magnet from the back of your gimbal. Maybe there was a little cause for concern with say your signal interference due to the magnet from the gimbal. So that's really the only difference inside here. Moving on to the ESCs, I've already got one exposed here for you. Now the ESCs, if you take the Zino Pro Plus versus the Zino Pro, and you look at these ESCs, I'm going to try to get you up close here. There is a different ESC. Let's try a magnifying glass, guys. Try one here with a light on it and see if that will help you. Because I do want you to see there is a difference there. So if you get a good look at it, let me turn that light off and see if that helps. Those rings are messing me up. Those rings reflect, so it's messing me up. But I'll point out to you what the problem is, and I don't want to turn the autofocus on because it's just going to go in and out because I'm zoomed in so close here. But what the differences are, here's your LED light, there's your LED light, and then these components on the board, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on this board you have 1, 2, 3. That's really the only difference I see, and then the part numbers are slightly different as well. But not by far. Let me look at them. I forgot what they were. On the Zino Pro, your part number ends in 58 5044, and then on your Zino Pro Plus it's 508. I'm sorry, 58044 on the Zino Pro. Zino Pro Plus is 58044-04. So I don't know that you can use the same ESC or not. There's really no big difference at all. If you flip them over and look at the other sides of them, they're exact. There is no difference between the two at all. So, and again, I know you really can't see it that good here due to the focus. I'll turn autofocus on, just see what we get here. See if we can get you in here. Yeah, it does make it better. So there's the inside. Actually there is a difference. If you look right here compared to right here, there's a difference. So the ESCs are different. They do have a different part number. And now that we have focus turned on, I'll show you this side here again. Yeah, it's going to jump in and out of focus. There we go. So you can see what I was talking about, where you have 4 on one, you have 4 on this one, and then you have 3 components on that one. And that's your biggest difference right there, besides the part number. So you do have a different ESC on the Zino Pro Plus. And I do want to warn you, if you ever order an arm for your Zino Pro from Hubsan US, which is a completely different company. They're not Hubsan. They're a company out of New York called Hubsan US. But if you order a leg from them, this is a Zino Pro leg that I ordered from them. First thing you'll notice is it's got the black wires. Now some of the Zino Pros did come with black wires. This one you'll notice has the red wires. These are a much thicker wire. And even some of the original Zinos had these red wires in them. So back and forth throughout production, Hubsan went with the red wires, and then they'd go to the black wires. These are very thin gauge wires, but this was what Hubsan US has advertised for their Zino Pro. I've ordered 2, a front and a back. ESCs are for a regular Zino, so all they're selling you is the Zino Black. This is not a Zino Pro, so if you hook this up to a Zino Pro, once you go to power it on, it's going to make a funny beeping noise because you have a different ESC. Now you can use this, take and unsolder the ESC and put the correct ESC in there. That will work for you, but just a little warning if you order your legs from Hubsan US. A lot of their parts I get correct, but there's some that they do not understand, and I've tried to get them to correct this, but they consult with Hubsan. Hubsan tells them there's no difference. It's perfectly fine, and it's not. So we checked the ESC, we went over the Wi-Fi repeater. That's pretty much it for this. The fan's the same, everything else is the same, except they've added that bracket, and then they've added this thermal conductive tape. So next, one thing I really want to go into is the barometer. They've completely changed the barometer. This is the barometer for the Pro Plus right here. But let's go on to the barometer, which I forgot to unscrew. But the barometer for the Zino Pro is pretty much just like what we were used to for the regular Zino. And many of you have probably experienced exactly what you see here on this one, the broken wire. These are extremely fragile, and that wire breaks easily, and that's what I have here. So it sits in there like this, and then it plugs into the main board, and it sits on a sponge. So that is the gyro barometer that we are used to. Now let me show you what they've gone and done. Now they do this on the Zino 2 and 2 Plus as well. And where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. So if we take the cover off this one, what do you see? More of that thermal conductive grease. And you know, it's something that stays really wet. You can see it does not, it's not anything that dries or hard. Now I do know, you know, for CPUs and stuff, this is very good. It's a very good cooling grease, but I've never seen it used in this application, completely covering the barometer and all the little circuits and stuff. So that is one big change they've made compared to what we're used to here. So maybe that works out to be a good thing, I don't know. But here's the one other thing. If you ever break this cable, now it is 100% part of the gyro. So you have to replace the whole thing. You can't buy just the cable like you can on this one, where you just slide out the black tabs. I probably won't be able to do it. Slide out the black tabs, and then the cable unplugs. And then you simply replace the cable. Now these are cheap enough parts to buy the whole thing, but this one you have no choice. So this one, if the cable ever breaks, you have to buy the whole mechanism. It might be a good idea to buy some of this thermal conductive gel to coat it, because I don't know that they would send you a new one. So that's that. So I guess it's an issue where the gyros are heating up, and this is to keep it cool. Maybe it's a partial interference thing. I really do not know. But that is what they are doing on that now. So that's a pretty significant change. You definitely cannot use the Zino Pro version on this because of that change right there. So now we'll move on to, let's look at the GPS units. Here's the GPS unit for the Zino Pro, and then the part number is right here. And the part number is 211 version 1.1. And then if we look at this one, the part number is 211-06. The beginning numbers are even different as well. It's 400, 8, 21106. So it seems like they're using a different GPS module, but what I've found in the past, when they switch GPS modules, they still work with other models. So I'm just going to make a educated guess just based on previous experience. The Pro compass and the Pro Plus compass most likely work the same for you. Your geomagnetic compass, I'm sorry, this is GPS, I think I said compass. Your geomagnetic compass, exact same thing. It has not changed at all. Same part number, no changes there whatsoever. So far no real big changes. We have the same exact lease Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it, repeater. We have this same, I think you can use the same GPS module. We have the same geomagnetic compass. The biggest change so far is the barometer, and then the power supply board with this cable. You may be able to use the power supply board from the Pro, but I do know that you have to use this cable. So let's go on to the big thing, and that's the main board. This is the main board of the Pro Plus, and I'll set it right here. And then this is the board of the Pro, and let's see if we can focus in here to where you can see it better. Nope. It's just gonna jump in and out on me. I'll just hold the quad and move it. Try not to dump them here. But first thing you're gonna notice here, the big difference is the Pro Plus board looks pretty generic compared to the Pro board. So if you look here, there's nothing here. But if you go over to here, if you recall, we had that CVBS plug on some of them. This Pro does not have it. Some Pros had a plug right here, but this part's the same, but this is different. There's absolutely nothing here, but on the Pro, there is some soldering there, so but there's nothing on the bottom. So that was intended to be used for something, some purpose, possibly in the future, but it's not there anymore. It's completely gone. You go on down and you look at the part numbers. They are different, completely different part numbers. But here's where the biggest change is. Here's where your gyro or barometer, this is where it plugs in. Try to keep you at an angle where you can see it best. And then same here, plugs in right here. But then you look here, pretty much everything's gone compared to what you have on this side. These were nothing that was in use, so I'm just pointing out the differences. It does not seem that would be a big deal whatsoever because we never used this plug. These two test points are still there, but whatever that is right there, it's gone. So that's the only real big difference. There's really no big differences in here at all. Everything pretty much appears to be the same. Underneath here, I did not remove those, but they are the same. And then here's the interesting thing. Now, it would take a magnifying glass, and I have done it. And we've already seen that the magnifying glass doesn't work here on the camera. But if you look at your Umbrella, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. If you look at your Umbrella chipset, exact same chipset. Numbers are 100% identical. And then let me turn it here and try to keep it from falling. Everything else, all of these chipsets are all identical. There is absolutely no change whatsoever. So there's no change in your Umbrella chipset or the others. Absolutely nothing different. There is absolutely nothing really different with these boards at all, other than the things they've taken off. So I think it's more so of a programming thing to where they've gone and made it to where it's just slightly different. It uses a different firmware that's not going to work with the Pro. So your Pro Plus board cannot go into a Pro board. Your Pro board can't go into a Pro Plus board. But here's the thing. I'm really not seeing anything that's giving us that extra range, especially with the difference of or the lack of difference with our lease system. So what have they gone and done? I guarantee you they've gone and just upped the power output to give us a stronger signal, and there's where you get your further distance with the aid of a 5,000 milliamp battery versus a 3,000 milliamp battery. So that's going to be one thing that's going to be very interesting, is for me to do range tests between the Pro and the Pro Plus using the 5,000 milliamp battery on both of them, now that I've done that little modification on the Pro to be able to use this battery. and see if there really is that much of a difference. But this is mainly, you know, I'm not knocking anything here. I'm just mainly just showing you guys what the differences are. And then here's the gyro barometer for the Zino 2, same as the Zino 2 Plus. And you can see in there they use that same grease that you would use like on CPUs. So they've been using this since the Zino 2, and now the Zino 2 Plus, and now the Zino Pro Plus. So I think I have gone over all the differences. Camera, gimbal, all that is the same. Your cables, I'll let them down now. The cables are exactly the same. You can see on the back of the gimbal cable here, it says J1. That's the exact cable that you use on the Zino Y and the Zino Pro. And then this image cable is the same from the very first original Zino to the Zino Pro, Zino Y, Zino Pro, and now the Zino Pro Plus. No changes there whatsoever. The camera lens module, that's the only thing I didn't go and look into if that's anything different. But we have no different camera specs here, so there is no difference there between the Zino Pro and the Zino Pro Plus. So biggest differences are the gyro here, gyro module with the fixed cable and the added grease there, or whatever the thermal grease that you use like on a CPU unit in a computer, the power supply board with that cable, and the GPS. But like I said, I think you can use that on both. And then the little differences found within the board, where this is actually a little more naked compared to the board of the Zino Pro. But all the chipsets, everything are the exact same part number. The boards are the only thing with a different part number. So really, you have no big change here. Your biggest change with the Zino Pro Plus from the Zino Pro is this right here. This is what makes it a Pro Plus. I'm 100% convinced this is definitely the big game changer for it, is that they have made this bigger battery. And you know, all of our changes from Zino to Zino Y to Zino Pro to Zino Pro Plus, they've all been very small changes, nothing really big. They've all just been very small changes. And I guess you could say, since each change is the biggest thing's been range, they have been upgrades, since we are getting more range, because we started out with 1,000 kilometers, and they've bumped that up with each model. So that's pretty much it. That should really just kind of wrap it up. I just wanted to show you the differences between these two models, and that's all. So many of you find this kind of stuff interesting. I know I do. So hopefully this was interesting for you. And if nothing else, you know that if you have to buy parts or whatever, you know that a lot of these things are not interchangeable, and you simply will not be able to use them. So that's just something to keep in mind after watching this video, what the differences are. So hopefully this is something that you know, you picked something up on and helped you in some little way. So hit that thumbs up on your way out, and if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and as always, hit the bell for future content and notification, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, peace and love.